It's been a long time. You return home from a long-awaited relief from a stressful evening. It's gamer time. You run upstairs, plug in your Game Boy Advance, and turn on your favorite multiplayer game of Call of Duty. But all of a sudden, British. They ruined, absolutely slaughtered. Why? Why did it have to happen to you?
Well, today I'm gonna tell you why your mom is still being done by 14-year-old British kids and Call of Duty Online. The very first COD game was released in 2003, 1 year after release of Medal of Honor Allied Assault. The development of both games is kinda linked together, but I bet most of you didn't know that Allied Assault was not the first Medal of Honor game. You see, the very first Medal of Honor game came out for PlayStation 1 as exclusive in 1999. Still to be considered one of the best FPS games ever released for PlayStation 1. Besides Power Slave, of course. As soon as you start the game, you can instantly see the parallel to modern military shooters. You can aim, you can prone, you can lean, you can shoot, you can beat people with a massive fucking cock. Yes, in my factual opinion, Medal of Honor is the real grandfather of modern military shooter tropes. Every military shooter released afterwards has at least some features taken from this game. There are two games to be precise, Medal of Honor and Medal of Honor Underground, a sequel of sorts. The first has you playing as Jimmy Patterson, as he one-man armies the entire Western Front. By the end of the game, his name becomes so legendary the Germans shit themselves to the sight of him. Every time they hear a creak in the vents, they think it's him. Worst of all, they're probably right.
It's Jimmy Patterson!
The second has to play as a French woman named
Manon Baptiste.
She starts off as a young woman helping her brother at being French. But she eventually gets recruited by the OSS and travels around the world committing several acts of war crimes. And they say feminism is dead. Features: World War II, funny Austrian painter, friends, shooting German soldiers, shooting Greek civilians, massacring Moroccan hotels. Wait, war crimes. More war crimes, ATF roleplay, historical accuracy, and much more. The more you learn about the gameplay, the more familiar it gets. You go through mostly linear scenarios, killing enemies, following the plot, and doing objectives in between. Both games are split into 7 chapters with around 3 to 4 levels each. Second game also has 1 bonus chapter, but we'll talk about that one later. Each chapter starts out with a briefing of the mission details, accompanied by a documentary-style film explaining the historical impact of your mission. The mission location diversity are vast as well, especially in Underground. You go from looting a homeless man in a French sewer to trapping a woman in a shower in Casablanca for being a bad gaming journalist. The game is also from an age where developers actually cared about their games and worked really hard to deliver. The game is filled with love and attention to detail, which is very noticeable everywhere. Despite the game definitely looking like a product of its time, it still looks unbelievably good for a PlayStation 1 game. PlayStation clearly chokes in a greasy ball cycle of running the game though, as your frame rates can get so choppy that your gun disappears in moments of really intense action, as if the game is censored for the British audience. The main aspect of the game that may turn off a lot of players is the controls, in particular the movement. It may take you a while to get a hand of it, as you use the left analog stick to walk forward and backwards, but also look left and right instead of strafing, while the right analog stick strafes left and right while looking up and down. You may think, well duh, I will just configure the settings in my emulator and change it the other way around. This can work, but that will fuck up your aiming system, as that fully relies on the usage of right analog stick for both looking horizontally and vertically. I personally advise you not change any of the controls and just get a hang of the vanilla ones, as that is the way it was actually meant to be played. The only other thing you have to overlook is the funky graphics. I say funky because it's not bad or worse than any other game of its time. You see, while the game looks good, it definitely doesn't look normal. You will start noticing your surroundings are acting up, as if the player had a little bit too much of that chalky milk, as he has the small feeling of being stuck in the nether portal. The face textures are a different kind of nightmare fuel as well. Well, aside from those, the graphics are pretty good. The variety of enemies is incredible. The Germans are equipped differently with every single mission, giving them all unique flavor. Speaking of which, the game is definitely not historically accurate, but it is historically authentic. All the weapons you use are realistic and period correct, and the Germans are armed with historically accurate weapons and equipped with appropriate uniforms for the location they're in. Well, aside from a couple of missions in Underground where they have Stan Mark IIs as their primary SMGs, the game still has some unrealistic features, like frag grenades being able to take down tanks, and helmets protecting people from a 30-06 round to the head, but it's all in good fun. Now, the most unique and by far the most fun part of the game is the gunplay in combat. The main reason is the enemy AI and animations. What they have done in 1999 is something I haven't seen done properly ever since. In short, Enemies react to being shot in a very satisfying way. No other game provided this much freedom in bullying your enemies. I will demonstrate this mechanic too. And there are tons of these animations. You can clearly see the effort they went into creating this game. This is one of the main reasons why I prefer the first two games to their later counterparts. Let's take a look at Medal of Honor Allied Assault and compare the two. The animations in Allied Assault feel lifeless and enemies feel hollow, while the first two games, you can feel the impact and weight of your weapons on your enemies. Aside from that, the AI is also really ahead of its time. Enemies retreat behind cover, jump on mounted LMGs when they can, throw grenades and even throw your own grenades back at you. Those create really funny scenarios where you can shoot your own grenade out of the hand of the person who picked it up and watch them explode in agony. The AI isn't perfect though, and probably the dumbest thing about it is the enemies are fucking deaf. Like, they can literally stay idle when you shoot their friend about 5 meters away. Every German soldier has a heavy case of tinnitus in this game. Also, the pathfinding can be funny. The game probably has some of the most satisfying weapons in FPS history. The guns are extremely impactful and have recoil. The first game mostly features standard issue American firearms of the period alongside some German ones. The second game features mostly German weapons aside from the Sten Mark II and the 1911. Each of the guns has correct behavior and magazine size, which cannot be said for a lot of modern games, but probably the most amazing thing is the sound. The weapon sound in this game could put any modern shooter to shame. I mean, listen to this shit right here. When you compare the beefiness of the gun sounds to Allied Assault or Call of Duty, it's not even fair. But the sound doesn't end right there. Let me introduce you to the most memorable thing about this game.
Следующая охуенная песня звучит специально для пацанов.
The soundtrack. That's right, the game has an incredible orchestral soundtrack originally composed for it. And despite being played on the PlayStation 1, it's extremely crisp. It's epic, it's powerful, it's authentic, it's thematic. Medal of Honor has a lot of secrets and unlockables too, which gives it a lot of replayability. Whenever you finish a mission, you're graded with a performance evaluation, which kinda tells you how shit you are at the game. Getting 3 stars on each level unlocks certain cheat codes and bonuses, which are all fun to try out. Underground almost has a bonus chapter that gets unlocked after you beat the game, and it's by far my favorite chapter. The Allies receive a distress call from a German scientist in a secret fortress, and someone needs to go check it out. This someone is of course Jimmy Patterson. Yeah, that's right. Jimmy makes a return on Medal of Honor Underground with his own arsenal of weapons. What do you find at the castle? Ferries, knights, suicide bombers, and Lego soldiers. Now let's finally talk about the shitty annoying things about the game. Just like any PS1 game, you cannot save the game mid-level, which means if you die you have to start the level over. The difficulty gap between both games is very noticeable, as Underground is much more difficult. Let me explain. Each weapon enemies use in the game deals 5% of damage per shot, so bolt action rifles deal the same damage as SMGs and pistols, which makes guys with SMGs very dangerous. But weapon that is an exception to this mechanic is the bazooka, which will almost always insta-kill the player. And man, holy shit does Underground have a lot of those guys. The amount of times you will die to bazooka guys in the second half of Underground is pretty underwhelming. There's literally a level that includes both bazooka guys and tanks constantly swarming you, which both my least favorite levels from both games combined. Getting to play the game on PC is actually very simple using the DuckStation emulator, and it's definitely my recommended way of playing it right now. Check out ETA Prime's video on how to set it up. It's pretty easy. Does Brawler recommend playing this game? Well, this game isn't for everybody. The clunky controls, outdated graphics, and not so easy way of accessing it is definitely something to consider. But man, once you get past all that, there's a beautiful gem of an FPS game hidden right here. Fun combat, fantastic sound design, and unique settings are some of the main reasons why I kept coming back to playing this game. You should definitely give it a try. Thank you guys for watching, and let me know in the comments of what other games you want me to take a look at next. Have a good one.